Ann.
No.
I'm sorry, but I cannot take this anymore. Noxie, could you take care of this, Carol Ann? Virgil and I have something we must discuss. So, Virgil, I gather you like hitting ladies.
Some ladies need to get hit.
Then, conversely, some men need to be hit back.
I know, Virgil's gonna hurt me so bad.
Caroline, there's something you should know about Vida, Mommy. Well,
Vida works out. Vida works out.
a lot.
At this point it's beyond disappointing, it's downright shameful that you continue dragging Brent and his family into your videos, especially in December, especially during AdSense season, and especially after years of being told to stop. It is astonishing how you manage to turn someone else's grief into your annual content calendar like clockwork. The rest of the world is grieving their loved ones quietly, respectfully. And then there's you, repackaging the same tragedy for views every holiday season like it's your own personal Christmas tradition. Let's be brutally honest, it doesn't come across as grief. It comes across as exploitation. Brent's memory is not a coupon code for your audience engagement. His family is not a backdrop for your dramatic monologues. Their trauma is not your YouTube asset, though the way you recycle it, you'd think you consider it one of your most reliable performing topics. Every December, without fail, you dust off the same story, spin the same emotional manipulation, and position yourself as the center of a tragedy that was never yours to own. And for what? Sympathy? Engagement? Higher RPMs? You can pretend it's healing all you want, but healing doesn't happen on schedule, and it sure as hell doesn't depend on ad rates. Healing doesn't conveniently peak during the highest paying month of the year. Healing also doesn't require you to repeatedly drag Brent's family, who have clearly had enough, into your narrative like props in a show you refuse to stop performing. What you're doing isn't healing, it's clout chasing dressed up in grief. It's manipulative. It's performative. And it's disrespectful on a level that's honestly hard to comprehend at this point. Because let's not forget, Brent has a family. Actual human beings who loved him long before you ever tried to turn him into content. People who have to watch you take their loss and twist it into some self-serving YouTube storyline, year after year, while you cry on cue, pause dramatically, angle the camera just right, and talk about what this month means to you. They are grieving a real person. Meanwhile, you're grieving your analytics. And the worst part? You know exactly what you're doing. You understand exactly how YouTube works. You endlessly break down AdSense, view counts, thumbnails, narrative arcs. And then expect everyone to believe you just happen to get emotional about Brent right when the revenue spikes. Spare us. The math isn't subtle. If you truly cared about Brent, you'd protect his memory, not squeeze it for watch time. If you cared about his family, you'd stop dragging them into content that has nothing to do with them, content that reopens their wounds so you can close out the year with a little extra cash. And if you cared about your own integrity, you would have realized by now that this repeated spectacle doesn't make you look sensitive or deep. It makes you look desperate. Desperate for relevance, desperate for sympathy, and desperate for a storyline strong enough to distract from the fact that you haven't evolved, grown, or been honest with your audience in years. This isn't tribute. It's not love. It's not remembrance. It's you weaponizing a dead man's name because you've run out of things to talk about that aren't your own recycled drama or contradictions. Stop invoking Brent. Stop invoking his family. Stop pretending grief is your brand, and stop acting like this is anything other than taking advantage of someone else's tragedy to fill your content schedule. Brent's family deserves peace, something you keep stealing from them. They deserve privacy, something you've never given them. They deserve dignity, something you strip away every time you trot their pain back into public view for your seasonal tear-filled uploads. The respectful thing, the bare minimum any human being with empathy should do, is shut the door on this topic for good. But respect has never been your strong suit, has it? Do better. Or at least try, because at this point, even trying would be a major improvement, and let's be honest, you don't bring up Brent to honor him. You bring him up to position yourself as a victim again, to reframe yourself as the center of sympathy, to remind people why they should click, watch, and reassure you. You talk about grief like it's an aesthetic, like it's a personality trait, like it's something you can pin in a thumbnail and caption with, "This one hurt." We all know you were driving distracted, so shut the hell up already. Oh, and you were not brought back to life numerous times. Peter isn't as stupid as he pretends to be. He knows how the world works, he just hates it that he gets called out on his crap. Let's dive into these Reddit comments, shall we? Unfortunately, Peter is manipulative and he uses such incidents to garner sympathy. He used the Kukian situation, various deaths of family members, the pets, and goodness knows what all else. His most faithful followers give him his narc supply and he feeds off them for a while. When did he ever not talk about the accident? He says he's going to go ahead and talk about whatever he wants from now on, but the man literally yammers for hours per day about whatever he wants. How is this news? I was almost caught off guard when he started talking about the accident. He brought it up apropos of nothing, and when he did, he almost immediately became really angry, furious at times, talking about hateful people who are questioning the accident. About 80% of that vlog was him being angry and focusing on that aspect of the accident, which isn't actually an aspect of the accident as such. The crying also felt performative, and it seemed like he switched the crying on and off in an instant, changing his tone of voice from angry to more level with ease. Then back to tears and anger again. Maybe he's been reading this page and noticed how we've pointed out that he doesn't take to tears as quickly anymore, most likely due to his medication. On the eve of his sobriety birthday, you'd think he'd have a bit more gratitude and try to focus on the positives in his life. And did you know that they don't borrow time in recovery? We love brand new information. Has he evolved past his usual fury about the evil haters who question him? I think not. He always says he was brought back to life twice, but never says what caused the near-death experiences that allegedly occurred in front of Tanya. I've been in emergency work for most of my life. People who have been brought back to life and or suffered near-death experiences often have interesting and incredible stories. He's a storyteller but has no stories about that major life experience. I make that point for whatever it's worth. He did switch from crying on and off, which is what I suspected. He's trying to cry but having trouble because it doesn't come that easy anymore. I could be remembering this wrong, but didn't he tweet something like, "I've been through the worst time of my life. I was brought back to life in front of my friends and family more times than I can count"? When something happens to him or someone he knows, he takes it to the most extreme levels. If someone has a heart attack, it's always a massive heart attack. If he's in pain, he was writhing on the floor in agony. In the past he brought it up so many times that his best friend was standing there when they brought him back to life, so he went into cardiac arrest. Usually they clear the area of non-medical folks before shocking someone. Where was Alex? I'm pretty confident that did not happen. There was no audience, there can't be. All the room is devoted to the emergency team and their equipment. He's very vague about all of that. Then he wonders why people have questions. Peter always says he doesn't understand this or that. He doesn't understand hateful people. But what he really doesn't understand is himself. He has to constantly spend an hour-long vlog affirming that he's not focusing his energy on negativity while also spending that hour talking about the negativity and how he doesn't understand it. He somehow found a way to make himself the victim by not feeling like he could talk about the accident on video. Because it's such an injustice in his life to not be able to talk about the accident on video. How could the world be so unfair to poor Peter Monn by not allowing him to talk about his car accident on camera? Everyone is entitled to that, except him. It's the same old bullshit over and over again. We've seen this man have more rebirths over the course of his time on YouTube than anyone in history has ever had. Wake up, everyone. Peter's having another rebirth. Some people spend their lives visiting doctors, complaining about mysterious illnesses to get sympathy. Others take to the internet and start YouTube channels. Peter really does need a rebirth and a way out of the mental traps he sets for himself. But alas, he's unable to learn certain lessons. He can't seem to come to terms with the fact that his decision to talk about the accident has positive and negative consequences. If he wants to unburden himself in discussing the fatal accident and then suddenly switch to worrying about his ferns dying from overwatering, then people are gonna have something to say. The right to express an opinion is granted to each person on Earth, despite Peter's perpetual confusion. As someone commented before, Peter has trouble with nuance. He often thinks in black and white terms, when most of life is lived in the grey. He blames others for what he puts out on the internet, as if he still doesn't understand the nanosecond judgment and ever-changing landscape of the cyber world. He judges people on his gossip channel, to the point of bullying and harassment in some cases, but struggles to understand why people have personal judgments about him. What makes him care so much about the evil people he says have formed crazy conspiracy theories about the accident? How are these people important to him? If he knows the definitive truth about what happened and it has been, allegedly, years of processing this with his marriage counselor, then what would make him want to rehash it online? If he thinks people are bonkers, then what's his concern? His black and white assumption that everyone who questions or criticizes him hates him is a persistent and unhelpful cognitive distortion that upsets and confuses the hell out of him. He talks about the accident and then wonders why others talk too. It's like he just woke up on planet Earth and can't understand the way things work. He places himself in a superior position over the rest of humanity, like he hasn't judged the shit out of people, mostly women. That's his biggest distortion. That's the lesson he can't seem to learn. He blames the internet for his firm decision to keep this subject relevant. He can certainly choose not to speak on it ever again. Matthew Broderick was in a fatal car accident, but he never speaks of it. Peter becomes upset when he can't control the consequences of his choices. By continually talking about this, he puts the family out there first. That's his responsibility and his decision. There are so many things about him that annoy the hell out of me, but a big one is his inability, or rather his unwillingness to, understand things. If you were to count how many times he says, "I don't understand," something, or "I just don't get it," in one vlog alone, you'd be surprised. It could be over trivial things like football, or it could be something like what he considers bullying. He has no ability to venture out of the small world that he lives in. How many times has he mentioned that he doesn't understand football, no matter how many times people have tried to explain it to him? He doesn't understand it because he doesn't want to. Which is fine. Not everybody needs to understand or enjoy football, but it's just an example of his inability to learn something new. Another example is the falls that Alex often gets. I've never done one of them before, but I think I understand the basic concept of it. And if my husband had been getting them on a pretty frequent basis for years, I'd probably talk to him about it, or at least go on the website and read it. But no. Peter just doesn't get it. And then he'll talk for 5 minutes about how maybe he's going to start getting them when we all know he won't. Because it's something new and foreign to him. I'm not even really sure what the point of this was, lol. I just can't imagine going through my life being unaware of how very simple everyday things worked and then loudly shouting to the world that I don't understand any of them. We have the world at our fingertips. Why be so willfully ignorant? When he constantly says, "I don't understand," it's another way to pass judgment on things he can't be bothered to grasp or things that he doesn't like. He's more interested in people merging with his world than the other way around. He's not too keen on understanding his native language, so football is way out in left field. LOL, I dated a football guy in college. I was unimpressed by football and rather selfish, as some people are in youth. I didn't attempt to understand his world. I merely tolerated it. Needless to say, we broke up. Peter might want to learn more about those fours. He's looking like he desperately needs one way more than Alex does. Peter's talking about the accident again because December is Adsense month. How gross is that? Oh, by the way, let's all wish him a very happy sobriety birthday, cause you know he's full of shit on that too. Guys, leave your comments down below as always.
I didn't name the group, but sounds like the exact opposite of anonymous. Whatever. Like, to me, the alcoholics that, you know, the anonymous alcoholics, to me, would be like you guys. I don't fucking know. I can't tell, you know? But once you tell a whole church basement full of people, your cover's pretty well blown. But I'm not telling you my last name. That's none of your beeswax. As far as I'm concerned, a man should have a little, you know. Did I ever tell you about the time I blew a dog for a pint of gin? Ever tell you that?
You're what the French call les incompetents. What?